This episode was brought to you by BetterHelp.
Navigating life looks different for everyone. Through the highs and lows of a relationship, career changes, and other big milestones, it's natural to struggle through challenging times when often we are unsure if our heads are in the right place. But it's helpful to have a space where you can healthily voice these concerns, like therapy. Other than an unbiased ear to listen to, therapy has helped me make sense of my emotions and manage them in a non-destructive way, improving how I communicate my needs every day. Most of all, it's helped me feel more confident in how I live and direct my life positively. As the world's largest online therapy service, BetterHelp has matched over 3 million people with professionally licensed therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out the brief questionnaire to match with a therapist, and if things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. It's that simple. No more waiting rooms, no more traffic, and no more endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/ENGL1007. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ENGL1007. Sign up right now.
Welcome, listeners. I'm Dylan.
I'm Giuseppe.
And I'm Gabe, and this is the Talk to Each Other podcast. So what are we talking about today?
I feel like today we're going to be talking about more of how sports has to do with more of like an education base and like their mental health overall, and what like the publicity has done to them based off of what they've been doing in their life as teenagers to up to adults.
Yeah, I've been hearing about like the famous ones and how they get paid good money for what they do.
Yeah, so that's called NIL, which stands for Name, Image, and Likeness, which basically means that these college athletes that get a lot of publicity that are pretty famous can actually get paid for the work that they do, which started out a couple of years ago with the Title IX agreement that like enabled them to be able to get paid because they're such big faces of the colleges that they go to that they're able to actually profit off of that. So the first example we have is very famous, Olivia Dunn. She's got 5.3 million followers on Instagram, and 8 million followers on TikTok.
I want to talk about Paige Buchers. She has about 2 million on Instagram, 3 million on TikTok. She's known for like the Gatorade commercial, so she became pretty big. She plays basketball at UConn, so she has publicity off of that as well.
Then we got Sanders coming up with a 2 million follow count on Insta and 690.5K on TikTok. He was the son of coach and the former NFL player Deion Sanders, and Deion was already a household name. So
he's like already a household name, like, and his son is just profiting basically off of that, which is
basically
it's pretty smart. I mean, if my dad was super famous like that, I would be trying to profit off his name too.
Oh yeah.
Hey, why not? Whatever makes you bigger.
Yeah.
Gotta get that dough somehow.
Exactly. All right. But honestly, the most important part of being a college athlete is the mental health and like balancing classes, because most athletes deal with the pressure by like setting realistic goals for themselves and accomplishing them one step at a time. But it still can be really difficult for an athlete to balance their life and to be an athlete at the same time.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. But if they want to like stay organized or anything, they can create schedules for themselves. Use resources like Google. They can use calendars to keep track of like practices, games, their tournaments, what classes they have, the times of the classes, when they need to fit in like their study sessions, when they have time to like maybe take a breather, and also if they have a job. That could also include like some more mental health and stress issues with balancing everything.
I definitely agree. It can be hard for most college students in general, but a student athlete, they got a whole ton more on their plate. They got to worry about their performance. They got to worry about their performance in school. They have to worry about two sides to it. You got to worry about the student. You got to worry about being an athlete. How can you better yourself? How can you better your future? How can you continuously improve without cracking under all that pressure? You're going to have bad days, good days, but it's how you bounce back, how you recover from all that. How are you going to stay motivated in school? How are you going to keep going when you don't feel like keep going? And that's going to make you a better player overall. better athlete, better student, and it's going to build a future for yourself.
So you got to look more in the past of why you're doing this and keep processing that and use that motivation to, push through all the challenges you're going through. I mean, there's always going to be a solution, but, some athletes just are always thinking about, I have this at this time, I have to do this at this time. But they got to think of, the past and why they're doing it and just strive off of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like, it is tough being, a student athlete because 95% of students on campus are just students. So being the ones that have to, balance all that stuff, it's not easy. It's not for everyone. That's why a lot of people, struggle with it. But for the ones that do it and the ones that come out on top, it's really, an experience unlike anything else.
And I think it's also important to note that a way for students to stay motivated is they just kind of rediscover their love for the game. Once you do that, you're unstoppable really because you realize how motivated you can be. So.
I mean, you got to think they're starting off at such a young age, all the training that they've done for this sport, all the money that parents have spent on them. I mean, for me, I played sports all throughout middle school, high school. It's expensive for your parents, very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So being able to take that to the college level and maybe even pro, it'll help out in the long run. But obviously, with the stress, it's not going to be as much as middle school and high school. But now you're in college, you have so many more classes. You have exam weeks, you have final weeks, you have all these important things that you cannot fail. But then with the stress of the sports, it just all adds up on you, and the mental health isn't always there.
I mean, yeah, like what you were saying, it is a lot of money for your parents. But then there's these people that can pretty much, make what they can get their parents back. Like we talked about Shadur Sanders earlier. He's making $6 million a year. Livy is making $4 million a year. That's just unheard of money that is only possible because of these student athletes and their brand and, what they give to the world and how the colleges can put their brand behind these specific people. And then, obviously the return on investment is pretty damn high for them.
100%. I mean, you got to think of Paige Buchers again. I mean, she's a basketball player for UConn on the girls' team. But, just off of the basketball team from NIL, she's making $1.4 million a year. I mean, that right there, set alone, is a salary. I mean, that's more than pretty much every single job you could personally get besides for being a top NFL player, NBA player.
Yeah, that's more than the WNBA players make, too.
Yeah, just being in college and being on the NIL. I mean, that opened only 4 years ago? That started 4 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, $1.4 million. I mean, obviously she's gotten up to it over the years by her publicity, but I mean, still, that's a career money.
Yeah.
That's more than most people.
Yeah.
Most people aren't making that.
No, not at all. I mean, Art Manning's also making $3.1 million off of NIL.
Yeah, I mean, he's also got the brand of his two dads being Super Bowl champions.
He does. You're right.
But it's still using his name to his advantage and using his position to make some money.
I mean, if I had a name like that for my parents, I'd do the same exact thing. But chasing down your dreams is only for some. I mean, there's not necessary a feasible dream for all athletes. There's a lot to overcome to become the best you can be. To overcome all those challenges that you're facing. As we talked about, a couple of the people we talked about, Paige Buchers, Lily Dunn. We talked about all of them and how they had to face different challenges. But in order to chase your dreams, you got to face these challenges yourself.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a struggle, but if you can be the best of the best, you're gonna make it in this world for sure, and you're gonna be living more than comfortable. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.
This has been the Talk to podcast.